And hello, everybody. We're live.
Hi, welcome to the Augmented Reality podcast, your source for news, leaks, and insights about games and the gaming industry. It is November 18, 2020, and this is your Wednesday edition of the show. My name is Moontag, and I'm here as always with Sibsidian, although Ash is working on some other content today. How are you, Sib?
I'm good. Yeah, he's a little busy. We've got a big show tomorrow. We're going to be doing a full stream day, pretty much. We're going to be obviously showcasing the episode number 5 of the Night City Wire. And we're going to be talking about all the stuff that comes out there. There's going to be a bunch of music coming out and some other stuff, so it's going to be really cool. Please check it out. And then, we're also going to be doing some other streaming tomorrow as well over on our Twitch. So if you guys can, please join us over on Twitch tomorrow. The we will drop the Twitch channel in our chat a couple times during the show. So please follow over there. So news for today. It's a little bit of a dry week, kind of like we kind of get here, which is odd. We're going to do we're going to be doing our picks for the Game of the Year contest that's being put up by the Jeff Keighley's site there. We're going to be doing that tomorrow on the live stream, so please join us for that as well. But today we're mostly going to be talking about some news coming out of Japan about a couple different companies. One is going to be the Capcom hacks. We're going to address that story. And then the next thing that we're going to address is we're going to be addressing these rumors going around that good news, everybody! Microsoft is going to be our new world domineering overlord. It's going to be great. It's going to be lots of video games. So yeah. So we're going to talk about that. For the most part, this is actually a good thing, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit. But we're really going to bite down on this Capcom story first here.
Okay.
So, all right, Capcom, great game company, has been around for a long time. They are basically under siege, like hardcore. It is really not good. They now the ransomers are suggesting things that are untrue. So a couple things that we need to squash on that. One being that no customer credit card information is going to get out. So if you have a product or if you've been paying for a product at Capcom for years, they don't retain any of that data. That is all third-party responsibility stuff. So that stuff doesn't look like that's going to leak, which is good, even though the hackers are insinuating that they do have a bunch of that stuff. So of course, trust a hacker as far as you can throw one, I guess. The hackers have leaked have the ability to leak a whole bunch of games, and revealing in a lot of projects. Some of these projects are partially built games that were for some odd reason stored on the cloud, which is just super brilliant. Whoever decided that, good job. I don't I can understand some stuff here, especially with the whole insanity that's been going on for the last year. But I would not want to be in their position. So their code, their primary code for these games has been compromised in some way, shape, or form. So this, at the very least, this means a ton of work to change a bunch of the code in the base code files to make it harder for them to use these hacks to basically hack the game and break the game, or to get access to certain people's accounts and stuff like that. Possibly when they're playing. Possibly. I gotta put a lot of possibles on a lot of the news today, because there's a lot of stuff that we're talking about that is kind of going to be rough and random. So the company, a lot of these projects are code name related. They don't know how much of the details has been dropped out, or they have, and we'll kind of see how that goes. But it does appear that there were a couple of games in the works, and then a lot of their current games are in danger as well. So apparently there was a new Ace Attorney being worked on. There's a bunch of stuff for Monster Hunter that's been dropped. There's a bunch of stuff, Resident Evil stuff, that has come out. There's a couple of mystery projects. There is a handful of projects that were dropped with code names that appeared to have like. I'm not gonna go too much into the details because it's like I don't wanna give people like spoiler for some games coming up, but there was a couple of games that one was a multiplayer shooter developed and aimed at Twitch streamers. The other one was a multiplayer project that is nothing like they've ever done before, and they've also had a couple other unreleased projects that were compromised in some way, shape, or form. So this is really bad. Apparently, they're holding some of their servers hostage via ransomware and some other stuff. So this is really, really terrible. I'm hoping that these are only backups, or that they were, hopefully not something that was going to break that in some way, shape, or form. So we'll see how that kind of goes.
Yeah, we'll have to watch what happens.
Mm-hmm. So this is really, really, really sad. There's a lot of problems and difficulties with this. Naturally, you have a company that it appears as if they have a hard time holding on to key bits of data and information. This is part of the problem that we have with the way that things are running in the new world. More of the developer tools and stuff and content is online. A lot more of it seems to be in very unsafe situations. There's been a lot of talk about how secure is certain devices and machines, and very, very important machines that the government owns. It turns out they're not very secure, and there's a lot of problems that can happen. And so naturally, when we see this, we're going to be seeing a lot more problems, basically. So yeah, not so good with this. So yeah, hopefully they manage to fix that. Hopefully they manage to recover as much stuff as they can, and hopefully they find these people and are able to bring the law down on them. This kind of stuff is not good because, again, some people don't have a heart for mega corporations. These guys aren't that mega. They're not that huge. They're not somebody who I would never wish this on anybody, especially a smaller company. And Capcom still is, relatively speaking, a smaller company within the confines of the gaming giants. They're an older company. They've been around for a long time, and they have a lot of really great IPs. But they're not a $1 trillion company. They're not on the level of some of these like bigger companies that throw their weight around a lot more. And ultimately, this kind of stuff, if it's successful on this level, it'll keep on trickling down, right? There are more and more people. It's like, imagine waking up one day, you go out to your car, and your car is electric. You got an app on your car, and you try to get into your car, and it informs you that your car is now under ransomware, and you have to pay in order to access your vehicle. So stuff like that is truly terrifying, and we hope that
this is just
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say this is just kind of dipping your toes into what could possibly happen. So it's we have to think about this on many different levels, not just on the business level, but even on personal levels too, right?
Mm-hmm. So Ashton is asking, how does ransomware work exactly? So in this particular case, typically what happens is nobody's typically dumb enough to download ransomware. Click on the wrong application, or you go, somebody sends you a link and says, please download this product. If you download this product and install it, you will be a special customer with us, and we will send you $10,000 in free merchandise. And you're like, wow, I could really use that. Let me just download this thing. Oh, firewall saying that it's an unsafe product. Let me look at the website. Oh, it says that I just need to bypass that. Okay, I'm just going to bypass that. And now I unzip it. Okay. Now I click the install thing. It's giving me another warning. Let me look back at the website here. Yeah, it says that's normal. And you should totally just bypass that. All right. Well, I'm just going to bypass that. Yes, I totally trust this provider. And then use authorize your authorization, your system admin, to run the program and install it. And oh my goodness, now suddenly my computer's locked down, and there's a message on the screen that says send $200 to this bank account by tomorrow, or your computer will be scrambled. It's like, right, nobody's typically not that dumb. Although Moon, we should have. I don't suppose you ever grabbed that footage or the screen grabs of that conversation that happened in one of the companies that we were in recently.
Oh, I did. Yes, I'll have to post that at some point.
Okay, so we'll have to change some of the names and titles, but
Yeah.
recently we were in a company that had a
Breach.
and it was really funny because it was
It
happening
snowballed.
live, and so the breach went out, and it was a rather suspicious email that contained a file, and somebody accessed the file, and then sent a message got sent to everybody in the company. The company had like a couple thousand employees, so everybody got an email, and then people started to reply all to the email. So everybody was getting these notifications constantly, and it went something like, hey, does anybody know what this is? I opened it, and now I can't access the server. Then somebody's like, oh no, don't access this. This appears to be fishy. Then somebody else is going, I may have already opened up this. Just asking for a friend. How what do we do if we clicked on this? Then the next person is, please stop replying in all. And then there was a couple more conversations, and then somebody kept on yelling. 3 more people jumped in, started yelling, please stop replying in all. Now this is funny because if you're in one of the, there's a good chance that you've seen this at least once before in big companies, because this happens all the time, and it's really funny to watch the chaos of this happening. And this was about a week ago. So it was so funny to just watch this in like live time. And a couple weeks before that, there was another company that we were working with that had the same thing happen, but not as bad. And it's hilarious to watch the chaos that ensues on people, like when they're doing this. And it just got progressively worse throughout the day until like one of the big bosses had to come on and like, please stop replying all. Please stop doing this. Don't open these files. Double check our policies on this. Double check our policies on that. And then like 20 people replied all, yes sir, thank you sir. It's like brown nosing like crazy. And it's like, what? Oh Lord. So
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous.
So super fun. This stuff happens, but in this case, typically what happens in this case is somebody hacks into your system, and then they install that ransomware on the computer themselves. So that's kind of like, when you're dealing with that, that's kind of rough. Now, if you watch scammers, there's a couple of YouTube channels on YouTube that cover like dealing with hackers and like counteracting them, and then reverse hacking them, and then getting access to their computer. And then there's a couple of them. My favorites are where they trash the computers on their network, which means like it's a couple of days. Sometimes sometimes they're able to like brick a couple of devices, but it's super funny to watch them try to like fight this. And I've seen this before where the guy was like, it came down to like a click fight, because they were trying to work on control, like trying to control the computer to like finish installing this device, this file onto their system that just like it's just a system lock, and it just breaks the computer. And the guy saw what the reverse hacker was doing too late, and he was trying to stop it, but then it went on, and then he got his boss on, and his boss came on, and he was really pissed, and he's like, I'll send you $5,000. You fix this right now, and I'll send you $5,000. It's really funny. Check those videos out because they're a hoot to watch, and it gives you a little bit of karmic justice, but some of them are like, some of them are some of the guys are still too kind to them. Like, they're like, oh, maybe you guys should stop doing it, and like, these people aren't going to stop doing this. This is the way they make their money, and they're criminals. Like, you try talking like a pickpocket on a subway out of, like, picking people's pockets. It's like good luck with that. It's probably not going to happen. The best thing to do is to arrest them and throw them in a very small cell for a while and let them think about what they did. So, anyways.
For a lot of people, it's just, it only has to work once for them to repeat the behavior, right?
Yes, and unfortunately so many people who don't check stuff, and everybody doesn't check and doesn't take their security as seriously as they should. Like, even people who some people might say is they're taking it too far and it's crazy. Even some of those people, like, they're still missing it. So yeah, it's crazy. It's difficult. But unfortunately, these guys were hit pretty hard. It seems like it was organized. It seems like it's probably a good sell of doing this. And unfortunately, we're just going to hear more and more about this. So, yikes.
Yeah.
So, anyways, in other news, and what the main topic about is today, is that while we're talking about Capcom in Japan, we're also talking about these rumors that have come up about Microsoft making some serious plays in Japan. And they're making some serious plays for the Japanese market. The PlayStation's hit just recently, and they have sold the least PlayStations ever as like a this coming out kind of party thing where they're it's like, hey, it's here, everybody come pick this up. They've sold, from a couple of the reports that I've seen, they have sold the least number of PlayStations ever. And
like forever.
Yeah, ever. Wow. For a debut console. So this is kind of huge. On top of this, we have the news that Xbox apparently has sold more Xboxes. Microsoft has sold more Xboxes in Japan than it has ever sold before. So this news coming out seems to be like this. There seems to be a change in the wind here, because on one hand you have the most you have the least number of PlayStation sold in Japan, and you have the most Xboxes ever bought. The numbers are still down overall, and this attributes to the fact that more and more gamers in Japan are switching over to other devices. The Nintendo is extraordinarily popular there right now, as well as the like handheld, like cellular devices, pads and stuff like that, but also PCs. PC sales have gone through the roof in Japan recently as well, like gaming PCs. They've started to buy up a lot more graphics card, a lot more gaming mice, a lot more gaming keyboards. The sales are through the roof, and more people are setting up traditional PC rigs in their houses. So this is pretty huge.
There's a question from Thomas in the chat about, isn't availability a problem?
That's counting that availability into that. So we're mostly talking about like pre-orders, people trying to get their hands on it, and just general like market interest kind of stuff like that. Like, what I believe a couple of these accounts are talking about is they're talking about the number of people who have showed up or requested a console even after they've sold out. So they are taking that kind of stuff into factor. So normally, you get 100 people lining up out of the store, and they only have 50 units. Now they only have 40 units, and there's only like 50 people lining up out of the door. So that's the kind of difference that we're talking about. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more unique. So yeah, this is huge. So this is possibly kind of like I said, a change in the winds, or we're looking at potentially at some other stuff going on here. So one of the things that's going on here is that there's a lot of game studios in Japan that have felt that PlayStation has abandoned them, and it's been pretty bad. And Microsoft is seeing this opportunity to move into this market, and they're moving into the market quite strongly, despite the difficult history that Microsoft has had in Japan, and why typically Japanese do not buy Xboxes. They have been buying them more recently, and one of the things that we've been hearing is that Microsoft is about to make a big investment in Japan when it comes to gaming. So there's a lot of studios that have been put under immense pressure by PlayStation. We've covered this story a number of times, where they get a copy of their game. It's a small indie studio, maybe 5, maybe 50 people working at these studios, and it's a game that, it's the 7th in a series that's being dropped for the last like 15 years there. And they send off their next copy ready to be like, stamp of approval, and it comes back to them and it says problems with the game. And they don't list the problems, they don't tell them what's wrong, they don't tell them what they're upset about. They just say, nope, done, this isn't going to print, you have to fix the problems. And they go, what problems? And the response comes back as, we're not telling you what the problems are, you have to fix the problems. No, normally they'd say, hey, especially for some of these games, they might be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more adult orientated, and even adult is kind of a stretch. More like, just like, pushing the boundaries, right? That's typically what you get in anime. Is there's some stuff being pushed there, and it's not necessarily like bleeding over into the H department, but it's pretty, it's getting kind of close. And normally what they say is, well, look, we want this image tightened up a little bit. We want this image, you gotta make it look less like, the H game and more like the A game. And so, they come back and they tweak some of those things. Well, they're not telling them those things anymore. They're just looking at it, saying, nope, we're done, it's out, and they kick them to the curb. I've heard rumors that there are some studios have been outright banned from publishing their games on the platform. This is unconfirmed rumor. So, this is a stacking problem that's been happening here. It appears that Microsoft is, what they intend to do is buy out a large studio that has been around for a while, and then have them become the new, basically, like the new regional command center for buying up a lot of indie developers. So I suspect what we might end up seeing is we might see Microsoft buy up a massive studio that traditionally has put most of their games out onto PlayStation or PC, and they buy them up, and then they offer them this, like, basically, like, very little interference, very little control. They make them feel really good, really happy with the purchase. They suddenly start selling their games and moving them over to the Xbox, moving them over to the Game Pass, and they start sending just truckloads of money back to them, and then they go to these other smaller indie studios that are coming up with some of these new, like, hot breaking titles, and they say, hey, here, we've been doing fine under Microsoft. They're not controlling, they're not manipulating us, they're not causing these problems. I think you might like this. And because it's local people dealing with that, and because they're local people trying to talk people into joining this instead of an American like lawyer, it's like it goes over. It is probably going to go over a lot better, and we might end up seeing a shift in bringing in an enormous amount of gamers who are interested in the more Japanese type titles. A ton of those products hitting the Game Pass, and Microsoft really opening up doors in with these smaller indie studios and helping them like get their games to a much bigger market. So this is really interesting, and we could potentially see some kind of movement in this in the next year or two. In the next in the next quarter or two. I suspect that we'll hear some news about this one way or the other, probably like early next year, and I suspect that, if not then shortly after. But I suspect that we're going to have a big push from Microsoft into the Japanese market, because they understand the importance of getting in with some of these indie developers, because most of the biggest games in the world, especially that have shown up on the Xbox, have been from indie studios. So the first game that everybody knows is the Halo series, popped up
Mm-hmm.
on the Xbox, very indie studio when they made that the very first game that they made, and it was a smashing success. Really made Without that, I really wonder if the Xbox console would have taken off at all. Halo definitely like saved it and made them massively successful, and that genre and the IP has been doing extremely well. There's some hiccups here and there, but it's been extremely well and extremely good for them for years now. I mean, it's spawned a dozen different major things in social media and not social media. It's in popular culture around video games. So that's really, really huge. And then the next thing that it's done is that, and then the next game that everybody knows about is Minecraft. Minecraft was made by Notch, a very small team behind that. I think it was only like him and like a couple of literally one or two other people up until a point. And then that game has run, again, that's $1 billion game, and it has done so well, and now it's being used as educational games in schools and a bunch of other stuff. It's a baseline experience for pretty much everybody in gaming. If you haven't played it, then you know about it typically. So,
Mm-hmm.
you want to read those 3 comments here?
Yeah, so there's some great comments in the chat. We love to see you so active there. Please send us your question and comments. We do our best to read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. And also, don't forget to slam that like button. It likes us rough. It tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. And if you're listening after the fact on one of the audio-only platforms, we're glad you're here as well, and we appreciate your likes and follows. So if you want to get the latest info sooner, you can hit the link below to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got some comments from Shua. He says, that makes sense if Japanese devaluation and consumers are unhappy with how Sony is handling business. There's another comment from Dark Hollow. If Sony is ignoring these devs, then it makes sense for Microsoft to swoop in. Their weakness of having Eastern games on their platform.
Is that yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. There's a lot of really good games that come out of Japan that we don't even get the ability to see, because for a long time Sony was uninterested in bringing these to a Western market. They would bring some, but not all. There are a large number of games that were quite popular over there and it wasn't always just Sony. Sometimes it was the developer themselves. There's a lot of developers who don't believe their game should be played by anybody outside of their country.
A certain pool or demographic, yeah.
Yeah, and this has happened before a couple of times, and it's there. I don't know what more to say about it. It is there. I think that it's silly to leave money on the table. I really got to point out that Nintendo is horrible with this too. There are hundreds of Nintendo games on older consoles that they could package and sell on the PC, on the cell phones, literally anywhere. I mean, the fact that they haven't come out with a device, like a little thing that attaches to your phone, gives you old school controller for the original Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, and sells you a library, like a kind of like an intro game that they give you, like a couple of the big title names, but then they also give you the entire list of all of the games on an emulator to play on your phone. The fact that they haven't done that is frankly shocking.
It really is. Like, I even got a gift like a year or two ago from one of my cousins. It was a cell phone case that was shaped like a Game Boy, and when you turned it over, you could actually play like 2 basic like games on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mind-boggling why these guys can't even do something as simple as that, right? Like, can you just imagine the merch they could make with that, right?
Well, it's not just that. It's like they could just shovel games
Just shovel games, yeah.
into the consumer's mouth, because there's so many really good, really solid games on those early systems that it's not a question of like, well, can you bring it over to the PC? No, they've been on the PC for like 15 years. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, I've heard stories, people, um, about these emulators on the PC. I would never buy or play an emulator because that would be illegal, and nor would I download tons and tons of ROMs to play games, especially as a poor kid with not very much money. I certainly never did that. Um, you know, it's certainly not something that other people have done in the tens of thousands of in numbers as well. But for some reasons, sorry, yes, Dark Hollow, emulators are not illegal, ROMs are. So the emulators are not illegal, the ROMs technically are
The
breaking
realms.
copyright.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, true.
We also have a
Dark
couple
Hollow's
questions from
giving
Ashton.
some advice and stuff in the chat. We neither confirm nor deny, or sorry, we neither confirm nor condone the usage of ROMs, in various scenarios. If you own the product, there are some arguments for that, and I really do believe that there's projects out there. One of the interviews I'd love to do is an interview with the gaming museum. There's a couple of them that have been started up over the past few years, and they're trying to save games in their traditional original status. And they're even trying to save things like there was a big discussion, like classic WoW came out, but there was a discussion right before it came out where people were like, there are people who want to play or want to have access to games with certain builds on it in the past, and if your game is an online game, it's like tough luck, you can't do that. So that's very concerning for some people because they lose out on an experience that they're wanting to, relive, that they paid for, and this is
Hmm.
this is what's wrong with games as a service. One of the many things that's wrong with games as a service is that you can't get that same experience sometimes, and that really sucks. It kind of sucks that these games, especially games as a service, lock you out of certain content as soon as they deem that they don't want you to have that experience anymore. And there's a lot of arguments that are there, both pro and positive, both positive and negative, about these things and all of these things, and there's many of them. And those are good conversations to have, but we should at least be able to, like, a museum should at least have the right to be able to document this stuff. And in some cases they're fighting the very just the documentation, not like setting up a thing where somebody can come in and play, but just documenting some of these stuff, is problematic. So it's very concerning, and I'm hoping that we'll see a change with that. But yeah, Microsoft and Nintendo both have this very, very bad, or sorry, Nintendo has this very bad habit of ignoring, what the people are asking for, despite the fact that they have done an incredible job whenever they have run into problems. Nintendo famously, their corporate board gave themselves no money while they were in a tight situation, so that they could continue to pay their employees, and then they came out with a Nintendo Wii shortly after. So this is great, and we're seeing a lot of good things here, but there are more things that these companies can do, and there are more things and more directions that we can get. So yeah, we're hoping that things will improve, but I think we've still got a long ways.
Hmm. So there's an earlier question from Ashton, two of them actually. So first question: could this investment lead to Microsoft partnering with Japanese developer companies to make video games like with Capcom from Software, Sega, Atlas, and Platinum Games?
Yeah,
And
sorry, keep going.
and the second question was, what do you think about the new fantasy RPG that Obsidian's developing that Microsoft said they'd use at the Xbox Series X live show in July?
So, and this is a great example. So despite Microsoft working to guarantee that buyout of Bethesda, they did go out of their way to pay, to pave the way for Obsidian to make a game that was essentially a competitor to the Elder Scrolls franchise. So we're seeing them move on multiple fronts, and maybe their opinion is, well, yeah, what's wrong with having two different Elder Scrolls type games? That are, as long as they're a few years apart, technically that's not a problem. I mean, hell, we have, you have the Assassin's Creed universe pumping out a game, almost every year, like clockwork, and they haven't hit a wall with that. So maybe there is room enough for two different things. But Avowed is looking very interesting. And I think that having Avowed compete directly with Elder Scrolls is a good thing, because I believe what we'll see there is we'll see a healthy competition that starts to develop, and these guys are not only using healthy competition to compete between themselves, but they're also able to offer some level of assistance to each other when it comes to pushing certain things, and trying to make technology work a little bit better and a little bit smoother. So that's pretty interesting, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah.
Those are
And Common Pants. Read that one.
Pants. Right.
The most recent is like this.
Most recent. Oh, there you are. Microsoft is trying to shake the no games reputation.
Yes, exactly. Good point here, Common. This is 100% accurate. What they're doing, if let's just say, there's a couple of big studios in Japan. Capcom's one, Sega's another one. What if Microsoft walks in and buys out, I don't know, let's say they buy out Sega. Or let's say they get wild and they buy out both Sega and Capcom.
Ooh.
And they create basically this super studio of families, or families of studios that are competing with themselves, but also with their old, what they used to deliver content on, and they suddenly are able to come out with a whole bunch of like big games that people have been waiting for a really long time, as well as really good remasters of a bunch of their old favorites. And all of these suddenly become free on Game Pass, on the Xbox, on the PC, through the Microsoft Store. It's all right there.
That would be amazing.
Would be huge. That would be huge. Double asterisk, yes, I do agree. Microsoft really bumbled the Halo thing for PC players, and it is still I would say, a definite scar for them. But you got to remember that is the old Microsoft that, 8 years ago stood up on a stage, 9 years ago stood up on a stage, stabbed themselves in the stomach repeatedly, screaming, "It's for your own good! It's for your own good! It's for your own good!" You don't want a gaming system, you want a home entertainment system that plays DVDs. That's what you want. This is what you want. This is what we're giving you. You have to listen to us. And then, when the community outrightly rejected this on a massive scale, they took two of their other programs, two of their other things that they were building in with this system, with the always off and a bunch of this other garbage. They took a bunch of that stuff and they took that stuff off and they trashed it. There was going to be this thing where you could like hop your game between any console that you had access to. So if you were playing a game, say you're at your house and you're playing a game and you're like halfway through, say you're playing Skyrim, okay? You're playing Skyrim, you're halfway through a dungeon, you get to this really cool fight. Then your buddy calls and says, "Hey, come over, we're having a pizza party." And you're like, "Okay, cool." So you pause the game, or you turn the game off, turn the console off. You save it, you turn the console off. You say, "Okay, I'll be right over." You go over to your buddy's place, you turn on the computer, you turn on the Xbox there, and you're able to, the system would just recognize you, and you say, "Hey, Cortana, I want to play. I want to pick up where I was playing in this latest game. And they, even though they don't own Skyrim, which we all know is ridiculous because everybody owns Skyrim, it would boot it up and then load that last save right from there, and you could continue playing right from there, even though that buddy of yours doesn't have the game. So your games would follow you from Xbox to Xbox. This was part of the system that they were having. They were going to have this unique family plan and all this other stuff. All this other stuff, really cool shit, really cool features and stuff that was in the works, and Microsoft just dumped on it and said, no, if you're not going to take the always on, Microsoft, if you're not going to do that, then we're taking our toys and we're going home. And they stormed off the stage. And thankfully, those idiots were fired. Like, I heard a rumor that Bill Gates came out of retirement and literally beat a bunch of people within an inch of their life. That's not true, but it's a funny mental image, right?
It really is.
So, and it's also, I also stole that from South Park. But yeah, this is what they had done, and a bunch of those people got fired. A bunch of those people were let go. Some of them did not fail upwards in the company, which is again another shocker and makes me trust Microsoft a little bit more. Like, I mean, I still don't trust any mega corporation. I really don't. But it makes me somewhat more forgiving of their current leadership team, because they didn't fail those people upward. Unlike, say, I don't know, Activision and a couple other companies that continue to take people who make horrendous, terrible mistakes. EA is another one. Obviously, probably actually the more accurate one. They take games, they create utter garbage, they burn down a studio, and the guy in charge says, it gets promoted to another position where he does the exact same thing there, and then he gets promoted to another position where, again, he does that exact same thing there. At some point, you got to ask yourself, who's going to these like company retreats with a camera and starting to record a lot of things from a lot of like higher ups to start blackmailing them with? Because there's no other possible way that you would have some of these people. There was a dude who failed like 5 projects in a row through direct I can't say this word.
Negligence.
Yes, thank you. Failed these companies completely and totally, and still got a promotion. 5 projects costed the company almost $1 billion, and he got a raise. He got a raise and a promotion. Why would you do that? Why would this happen if the guy was like he must, like, seriously? I'm thinking like call back to, here's a good one. Call back to an episode of The Simpsons where Marge starts a cookie business or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Homer screws a bunch of stuff up, so he goes to the mob, and he gets the mob to take over, and so she shows up. I think it was a pretzel company. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was pretzels. Yeah.
So she shows up at the school, and the principal opens the door, and his hand is bandaged, his eye is black, and he's got a black eye, and he's like, "Hello, yes, we will take this order of several hundred pretzels." And she's like, "Are you sure the kids should be eating something different? Or no, this is fine." And then you see like the barrel of a gun kind of like poke out of the shadows, and he's like, "All right, I must go now. Thank you very much." It's like slowly backs out, and then as soon as the door closes, you hear this like, after he hands her a big pack of money, and you hear this like shot go off. It's stuff like that. It's like you really gotta wonder. It's like, is like this guy holding these like board members like family? Like, is that what's going on? Is there a bunch of like muscly men in the background, going, "Yes, you're gonna announce that Mr. John Doe here, Mr. John Doe here, and Mr. Joey Bag of Donuts. These guys are gonna be upgraded to your CEO and your step CEO, and they're gonna run pretty much everything from now on." And you're just wondering, it's like, who's organizing this? Because this is like ridiculous, right? And then you got the goons, right? Good lord. So it's maddening, right? And we saw that hit the wall with old Microsoft. So we have no love. And if they hadn't changed so drastically, I wouldn't be on their side at all. and I'm very warily on their side. I do like what they have been doing, and I am like happy that Obsidian and Bethesda have been brought under the same house, and that we now have the potential. One of the best things I have dreamed of this day for a very long time, of hearing that there is now an opportunity for us to get a New Vegas 2. This is one of my greatest wishes in the video gaming market. And because of Microsoft, this is now an option. Because of Microsoft, we now have this option. I hope it works. I hope they pull it through. I hope that they get a ton of money to really make the best Fallout game that the original creators of Fallout have envisioned, and they get to do what they wanted to do. I am so ready for this. And this would not have happened at all if Microsoft hadn't come in and bought out Bethesda. It would never have happened. So, New Vegas 2. I'm telling you, that alone is worth it, and it's worth it to me to try to be somewhat encouraging, right? We want to be generally encouraging to companies that are making a change. And I think there's enough of a change here that warrants somebody saying, yeah, look, it appears as if they're doing a good job. So, yeah,
absolutely.
There is right now, because of what Microsoft has done, it is not off the table that Chris Avalon and John might be able to come in and work for them. Chris and John are both essentially freelance right now. And so they definitely can get in and work on some of this stuff. And we've talked with Chris before. By the way, I want to re-emphasize this clearly. Chris Avalon had some charges levied against him recently. Those charges got withdrawn, and the person who made them admitted that they made them up. And that it was a jealousy thing. I do not think this person needs to be harassed. They came out. They said the truth. It does not appear there was a lot of evidence against the story right from the get-go. There was a ton of stuff that put it into question, and a lot of people backed up the accurate story. So the person recanted. And I think, yes, good. They didn't push it to, a police report or something like that. So it's not like they lied in a legal sense. They only lied on Twitter, and that is atrocious and terrible, and they shouldn't do that. But yes, this was absolutely proven to be inaccurate by the person who made the accusation to begin with. I really wish this stuff wouldn't happen, but sometimes, yeah. Really wish this stuff wouldn't happen, but Ashton, Chris Avalon and John are the two writers who worked on New Vegas. Chris was involved in the original writing of Fallout 2. Scree, she did admit it. She the pressure came up, and she realized that she had been caught in a lie, and so she came out and admitted that she was caught in a lie. So. Yes. Anyway, so Chris Avalon definitely has a door potentially open to him now to return, because he had left on some pretty bad blood with the leaders, with a singular leadership at Obsidian. I can understand his frustration, 100%. They tried to do something that is kind of an industry standard thing, which did backfire a little bit and was extremely insulting to Chris. I can understand that. I don't think the person behind this should be in charge directly anymore. I think he should. I think he can do some other stuff. At the same time, I don't hate the guy. It's like Obsidian was caught with getting the bad end of the stick for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And they just couldn't get ahead. No matter what they did, they always got shafted in one way or another. And it sucks. And it's not fun to be in that position, but it is unfortunate that they were caught in that position over and over and over and over again. And sometimes you just, sometimes you make really good investments and then they go sideways, and that's what happened with them a lot. So I don't blame any of them directly for it, and I hope that the studios can just move on and continue to focus on making good games with a solid financial backing now that they deserve. So yeah, there's that. But at any rate, I keep segueing here. At any rate, the things that Microsoft has done has really opened up this, and their biggest problem is that they don't have a good gaming lineup, and they have very little like reasons for you to go out and buy an Xbox if you want to play a particular game. They don't really have any of that. But if they can take Capcom, if they can take Sega, if they can take both of those, if they can then after that, say like a year 6 months later after that, if they can catch, I don't know, say 20 new indie studios and indie and both new and old studios from Japan, and pull in a ton of brand new games, and really bump up the quality. There is a couple of games on Steam that I think would just be so good. Would just be absolutely beautiful, being remade in a much better scenario. Things like, I'm trying to figure out here, because this is I remember I pulled up this one game, and this was not the game that I was going to talk about. This one is in early access, and it's not the one I wanted to chat about. There's a it's kind of like a World War II-ish, but it's it's a different universe entirely, but it's just World War I and II-ish type stuff. It's a turn-based game with anime characters and tanks and stuff, and it's a really, really good game. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
There's a comment from Double Asterisk says, "Take Square more than all the others and get Obsidian to make a new Deus Ex Machina. That would be top tier."
Oh,
it's like,
yeah, Square Enix. That's on the list too.
That would be amazing.
I wouldn't doubt any of those companies to be in the range of them. Square not so much, I think, because Square,
Enix.
they really are really close to Sony. Like, they have been close to Sony for a really, really long time. I don't know what of these companies have been into these talks. All I know for sure from multiple sources, and now I got some sources on this about 2 weeks ago, and then about a week ago there was a couple of articles printed about rumors of this. Some analysts came out, put out some information. They weren't the same people connected to the people that I got my info from, so I know that more than one company, more than one group was talking about this. So it's really close to we really have no idea what's going on here as far as that goes. No, it wasn't Azure Lane either. Oh, man, this is gonna kill me. I'm gonna drive myself crazy. I gotta find my. I know that it's in my wish list, so I'm gonna see if I pull up my wish list and find it there. But yeah, this is really like on the cusp here. And if they could pull this off, if they really can pull this off, then we're looking at a huge advancement for Microsoft over top of Sony, and we are going to see some really crazy stuff go down. So
right,
really interesting. Reminder note: Empire of Sin is dropping on December 1st. I really got to remember to pick that up. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll remember it later or pull it up fairly soon.
This is one of those things where I was like, I didn't expect to talk about this, but
That's fair.
But it's a really popular series and it's really good. But at any rate, if they can pull a bunch of these games up and do much bigger new releases, like, this is going to change the game for for this considerably. We're going to have a huge new world when it comes to gaming, and I'm pretty happy with this because we do have the Windows Store on PC, and
Right?
all of those games are crossing over with the exception of a very small number, and I'm hoping and I'm thinking that those are going to follow. We're really hearing about this new Halo game, and we do suspect that it will be going out. Ashen Panzer, Girls Panzer, that's the one that I thought that was the name of it, but that's wrong. It's a different one. That one's in early access. I wasn't talking about that one. I was talking about another one. But yeah, it's interesting. So
And it's seriously awesome to see everybody so active in the live chat. Of course, if you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, you can also join us on Discord with the awesome people in our community, the self-named the Triple S Legion. So you can join us by clicking the invite link in the description below. Simon and I are usually on after the live podcast, so you can come say hi. There's usually somebody gaming, streaming, or just being active in the chat rooms, where you'll find lots of other fun and informative gaming content there as well.
Yeah, so this is big news. I mean, this is potentially going to change everything when it comes to gaming, especially in the consoles department. So, yeah. I don't know. No, it's not Broken Lines either.
No, it's the...
No, this is going to drive me mental for the next,
That's okay. Well, we are coming up to the
Valkyrie
hour.
Chronicles, there it is. Valkyrie Chronicles. That's the one.
Valkyrie
Thank you,
Chronicles.
Common Pants. Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Yeah, Valkyrie Chronicles. If Microsoft was able to get their hands on this title and then made a new game with top of the line graphics, the storytelling, the combat, everything in that, really just bump it up. Oh man, that would be so good. That would be so good. That would be amazing. And that would just be one of dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of different options and possible games. There's so many products and potential. And I mean, if it is Square Enix, if they buy out Square Enix, I mean seriously, that's going to be probably the biggest game changer of all. So,
Agreed.
So, and again, to reiterate, they want to buy out one of these big studios. They want to turn them into the headquarters for Microsoft in Japan, and in some ways turn them into the official office of gaming for the East. And they will use that company to then recruit other companies. Because what they're doing is they're casting a really wide net. Lots of indies, lots of smaller studios, lots of traditional and new form thinking when it comes to making games. Taking all of that stuff, as much as they can, combining it together and turning it into a product, turning it into a forest of products that the users of the Microsoft and the PC can get into, and this way they're more likely to claim that next big game. Right, the next Minecraft, the next, Halo, whatever it is, and really secure themselves as that, and then from there we'll see where they go. But yes, this is super interesting. So, any other comments you wanted to read out?
There's a comment from National. The great thing about Microsoft being console dominant, that would be that those games make it to PC as well.
And I think that's good. I'm really frustrated with the number of games on the PlayStation that you just have. It's like, well, unless I get a PlayStation, I'm never playing any of these ever again. So,
Basically, right? Like, I remember the last PlayStation system that I have is PlayStation 2, and the last game I really enjoyed on there was Okami. And then I discovered I could get Okami HD on the Xbox, and oh boy, it was so worth it. So worth it. It was beautiful. And so, yeah. With that, we are coming up on the hour. So, we are going to be doing a live broadcast tomorrow to watch the Night City Wire episode together.
Yep, we're gonna have a big long pre-show, and we're gonna have a post-show. We're going to try to do a couple different things, and we're also going to be streaming more on our Twitch as well. So please check that out. Let me just grab that.
Yes, check us out on there. We're going to be diving into WoW and, of course, later Cyberpunk. And don't forget, you can join us on Discord to connect with us. And don't forget to slam that like button. A big special thanks to our Patreon supporters and channel members who help make this content possible. Our big damn heroes, Robin, Shua82, Timebean, Skullaman, Lady Reaver, Dreco Den, Niv, Too Tall 12, and our two anonymous supporters, as well as our channel members, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, and Terra K. If you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, or any of the other platforms this podcast goes out to, we appreciate your interactions on those platforms as well. And don't forget, you can join the live show on YouTube on Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings, where you can interact with us and other listeners and be part of the discussion. See the Discord server for exact times and schedule. The Augmented Reality podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for games, guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Moontag, and on behalf of Saib and Ash, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you very soon.
So you can find us on Twitch at _S_league. So it's Triple S League on Twitch. We had to put those underscores there. You can find us there. We are going to be starting up our streaming schedule there we're going to be hitting it as hard as we can over the next couple of months. We're going to be doing a lot of the grinding there. We're going to be doing a lot of like shows there. YouTube really hates it when we do like 8-hour streams here, so I don't know why, because they keep wanting to become the new Twitch. But we will be doing some streams there, depending on what happens with Cyberpunk, with the rules of streaming and whatnot. We might be doing really, really long sessions over there. So join us over there, and then keep your ear to the ground over here, because we will be doing some more of these streams here. And we're also going to be doing these streams. Some of the streams will be in live group chat as well. So if you want to pop on and talk with us while we're streaming, you can actually do that. We're actually going to do that. There's going to be kind of a bit of a some security precautions for that, but yeah, it's going to be great. So hop on, get on the Discord, join us, and yeah, talk to you guys later.
Chat you later. Bye.